flood advisories. You actually see one just to the north there, because of all the heavy rain that has fallen, plus frequent lightning. Lightning is a huge issue. So regardless of how much severe weather we're getting at this moment, it's certainly still packing a punch. The heaviest rain pulling away from downtown Cleveland, still actively raining there though. Some really hefty rainfall right now around Richfield, Bath, and we have that flood advisory for Lorain County. That's in effect until, I forget the time, I apologize. Oh, that's a new one, I'm sorry. That's Medina County until 10:15. There's also one that includes Cuyahoga County, 10:15 there. One for Lorain County gets to expire a little bit sooner just because of the fact of when those showers and storms finally pulled away. Showers isn't really the right word, right? Torrential downpours is what we've been dealing with. And also, let's just make sure that nothing else is rotating along this line, because I'm not overly concerned, truth be told, even though we want to respect the polygon. While it's issued, if you live inside that pink box, that includes communities like Doylestown, Wadsworth, in the vicinity of that pink box, just get inside, seek shelter while we have these storms moving through. When thunder roars, get indoors. But at this moment, the rotation has come down. It was honestly a spike and came back down so fast that I'm not concerned of a tornado on the ground at this moment. But we are going to continue to watch the radar and make sure that we don't see any other quick little spin-ups. You can see all across the area, yeah, the winds are they're not terrible. Not great, but it's not terrible out there. And we still have these storms that are packing a punch in a variety of other ways. Now, it's still actively storming right now where we have this tornado warning. After we're able to pass this off at 7:30, once I do believe that the tornado warning will be allowed to expire at that time. And you can see that it gets a bit calmer out there. Once it's expired, the storms, the worst of the storms have passed. Our friends that live around Hermanville, if you're able to let us know what you saw, what you heard, if you did have any damage. If there was a tornado that touched down, I do think that it was a very brief period of time, but that doesn't mean anything. A few years ago, a tornado touched down like 10 houses away from my parents, and I watched that house for years have to get fixed up. So it doesn't take a long time for a tornado to really create a lot of issues, even if it's just a very localized threat. And we still have, as I mentioned, those flood advisories for several of our communities until anywhere from around 10 to mostly expiring on that 10 o'clock hour because of how much rain has fallen. And we don't go wall to wall for flash flood warnings, but there's no denying that flash flood warnings usually don't receive the respect that like a tornado warning gets. But floods are a huge concern. So if you live inside this maroon box, there had been so much rain that fell. Some reports around Huron, 2 to 3 inches of rain. Berlin Heights got over 3 inches of rain was one of the reports. So, and it all fell within 30 minutes to an hour. That's way too much rain too fast. And so it's going to take a minute for the roads to recover from all of the rain that already fell, especially once the sun goes down. Then that's when you have that concern of it's even harder to see flooding once the sun goes down. So you really want to heed the warning that we have for that flood warning. We also have flood advisories, several communities, so we can go through them here. I'm a little bit in the way. There we go. So we've got Huron has a flood advisory until 10 p.m. Northern portions of Richland, 10 p.m. Ashland County, again, northern side, till 10 p.m. All of Lorain County, flood advisory, 9 p.m. Medina County, portions of Cuyahoga County until 10:15. Looking at, I think actually they dropped the tornado warning, so we might be able to send this back to, they did. So they agree, National Weather Service agrees with the rotation coming down. It was that spike. We still have storms though. While I have you here, I'm going to let my director decide what we're going to do here moving forward. So I'm going to keep talking for just a couple of minutes here. That way we can get you some news reports as well. But for we're gonna move on. Okay, so I'm gonna, you know what, can I show the 7-day really quick? All right, let me get that 7-day forecast up for everybody here. This is your 7-day forecast. I'm gonna step out of the way here. Get the pregnant lady out of the way. So we have the storms today. These are going to be fading as we get closer to sunset. And I'm going to probably go do a Facebook Live after this, so please join me there. And tomorrow it's all about the heat and the humidity, and we have a heat advisory. Then we get a pattern flip once we get to the middle and end of this week. Thank you so much for joining me during this tornado warning. If you got damage around Hermanville, that's the area that we saw the worst of the rotation, or anywhere that has gotten some storms, please let us know, and we'll try to get that on our website and on news5cleveland.com.
Have you ever had power outage issues?
Absolutely. Many times.
For Debbie Light, losing power has become a constant problem.
We probably had about 7 of them yesterday afternoon.
What makes it even more challenging are the extremely hot summer days.
We had no air conditioning, nothing.
But it's not just the heat. It's also that she lives on the 11th floor.
You live on the 11th floor and then the elevator just doesn't work.
Absolutely.
The outages have become a persistent issue in Lakewood for months, with problems continuing through this past Sunday.
It's extremely frustrating.
Mayor Megan George tells News 5 that she, along with other elected leaders, asked the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio to launch a full investigation weeks ago, and she's relieved to see findings released on Friday.
First Energy has an obligation to provide reliable power to our residents and in our community, and they're failing, and they need to be held accountable.
On Friday, PUCO announced that they've been looking into the outages and have issued a formal notice of probable non-compliance to First Energy. They believe the root of the problem is aging infrastructure, an issue they say has persisted for years with little action taken. PUCO found 4 potential violations and listed a number of required corrective actions, including submitting a detailed improvement plan and improving communication with customers.
But that is not what we think is necessary to adequately solve this problem.
J.B. Blackwood with the Ohio Consumers Council believes a formal investigation into First Energy is needed, which would allow for public comment and an outside auditor.
A formal docket investigation would be required to declare that First Energy was negligent.
News 5